which is yet again considering text amendments to the requirements and standards for the design and construction of streets and roadway facilities in Warren County. Good morning.
Good morning. Just a 30-second recap. As you mentioned, it's the
Dave, go ahead and state your name for the
Oh,
record.
I'm sorry. Yes, sir. David Mick, Warren County Engineers Office. And this is a continuation of your August 29th, October 17th hearings to consider our proposed construction standards update. Pretty well the conversations have settled down to, the asphalt or the pavement thickness for different levels of development. The development community and the engineer's office and the townships are in agreement generally in that a change needs to be made. We all acknowledge that, and that the best change is to move from a full-depth asphalt section to an asphalt with gravel and under drains. So we're all on the same page there. We mentioned examples of developments with significant pavement-related issues. We mentioned that the engineer's office and the townships have put money toward some of these new developments, in some cases just to get them completed when we were in that downturn 10, 15 years ago. The concern on the development side is that the additional cost is about $2,000 a lot. That's for a 65-foot wide lot, and that they hope to get the same benefit at a cheaper cost. The board asked us to meet with the development group. We've done that. We've come together on a couple of minor issues, but still we're not in full agreement on the pavement sections. So we propose to move forward with our original recommendation for the pavement typical section. Any questions?
And essentially, what you're recommending, the standards, if I remember correctly, one slide, that it's very comparable to other fast-growing suburban counties in the state, and even on a couple of the categories, we were less stringent.
Yeah, we're very comparable to, one of the considerations raised by the development community is, the effects on development, and we appreciate that. I will say that, Delaware County is one example that actually their sections are a little bit more robust than what we're recommending here, and that the overall depth is the same, but they would have more asphalt, and where we lean toward a little bit more gravel. A little bit cheaper section, same depth. So yes, you're correct.
But I mean, the bottom line is, we have additional data points over the last 20 years.
Right.
We know what our requirements look like over a period of time in the real world, with really being built out, with really having construction traffic, with really having the type of winters that we have here. We know the effects of the current standards over a period of time, and essentially that's not good. We have been, the public has been spending a lot of money fixing these newer development roads a lot quicker than we really should have been, correct?
That is correct. And, in some cases, we don't know yet what our costs are. When we go in some of these developments that, maybe they're 10, 12 years old, and you look at and you just look at the roadway, and you can see where, there's not massive failures, but there's potential for failures in the future. So we don't know yet what our true costs are. Some of these costs are going to come, 20, 30 years from now. So but what you're saying is absolutely right. We've already incurred expenses.
So yeah, it's not like you're proposing something new outside the box. This has been done in other communities, including the fastest growing county in the state. We are the second fastest growing county, right, and it has not been detrimental to their growth, but yet it is taking the position that growth pays its own way.
Yes, right.
And that should, and the maintenance problems or potential failures of those roadway systems do not fall on the current taxpayers of the county.
That's our position also, yes, sir.
And in the past, when there have been economic conditions that changed, the board has been sympathetic and has made some policy changes in recognition of that. So during the recession back in the mid-2000s, the board did that, and perhaps it was, we're sort of playing catch-up from that decision that was made in order to meet the economic conditions of the moment.
Right, yeah, the board did, and that was, you know, if that becomes necessary, I'm sure would again. It's in our interest on the township and county engineer side, county commissioner side. You know, we need for these developments to be completed too. And at that time, there were concerns that we would have residents in these developments and have them not be completed. So yes, that's, you know, our goal then shifts to, you know, our best representation for those residents is to do what we can to incentivize these developments getting turned over.
So Dave, just to let you know, when we last convened on the 17th, I don't think we were able to make a decision, which is why we're back here today. I think it's clear to say that there's an impasse between the parties, that we'd asked to work together in good faith, which they have. There were some minor changes that were made. I guess I'd ask if there is anyone else who wishes to present information to the board before we consider closing the public hearing. Would you please state your name and address for the record? Thank you.
Excuse me. Hi, my name's Dave Stroop. I'm the chairman of the Home Builders Association for Cincinnati. I'm also president last year of the Home Builders. Previously, I was president of OVDC, which is a development council that works closely, and my day job is vice president of land development for Fisher Homes. And we are the, you know, probably the biggest builder in Warren County and Claremont County and Northern Kentucky for sure. I personally manage a team of about 10 guys in 9 markets through 6 states. So I build a lot of roads in a lot of places. And I've been a part with my friends here, the county engineers, on this process going back 4 or 5 years. We've debated and discussed how to make a better road. And I presented to them a while back that, you know, our founder, Henry Fisher in Northern Kentucky, basically put together the Kenton County road specs with his own money, his own research, and his own people, right? He brought really smart geotechnical engineers, really smart engineers. He himself is a civil engineer, and they figured out how to make these roads last longer, because I understand the challenge that these townships ultimately, we look at it as the county and the townships are our customers, and we want to build great roads for you guys so you don't have long-term issues with those, and I think we do that for the most part. I don't know that anybody's put more roads in Warren County than myself and my team over the last 10 years since I've been a part of Fisher. And I just don't see, I hear that roads are failing sooner and all this stuff, but I don't see it. I haven't seen it. I don't know that there's data that proves it. I've heard that there's, oh, the costs are more now. Was it cost because pricing have gone up, or is it actually real data that shows that the roads are failing sooner? I don't see that. Also think that we're pulling pieces that we want, maybe from Delaware County, as you mentioned, or Kenton County subregs, and we're kind of putting together this road spec that we think that we like pieces of. And I just challenge that Claremont County's not doing the same thing. And you could say, well, we're bigger than Claremont County, but I think I've put just as many roads in Claremont County. I think the one difference I see in the counties is their inspection team is very, very thorough and very difficult. But, you know, not everybody's Fisher in the way we do things. We self-inspect. We want to make sure that it looks great for when the county official comes out to view it, that it's done right. And I know that not everybody is us, and, you know, you have a lot of people that aren't doing that. But I think just the inspection portion alone would help, you know, make roads last longer. You know, people aren't just slamming things in without really looking at it with a fine tooth comb like Claremont County does. I also think Claremont County road specs slightly different, and it seems to hold up well too. So again, I don't know why we're pulling pieces, and we're a very small place in the grand scheme of the world. I mean, we're just a small few counties when you really think about it. And I don't know, we talked about the $1,000, $2,000 a lot, and when we were on the phone with Dave and the guys talking through this, I literally pulled up a pro forma in Goshen Township, and I just plugged in $2,000 a lot on that development. We wouldn't even have bought it. We wouldn't even have done it. I mean, that's how tight these things are right now on trying to get properties under contract, going through all the regulations to get them developed. There's just a lot of costs. I think 25 to 27% of cost is just in regulation. So it's tough for the development community, and to just throw another $2,000 a lot seems, easy, but it just isn't. And I had one real example. I was literally looking at typing in those numbers. So, and then if we want to say, okay, let's just do Kenton County specs, as Henry kind of helped write, well, there's no bonding there, right? So we put the roads in, we walk it with officials, and they take it over right instantaneously. And I know there's something on the board or on the agenda here too to extend our maintenance period or some level of that fashion on bonds. And are we going to, we can't take all the pieces that we want that sounds great and say this is going to be the best roads in the whole state. I don't think that's going to be true. And I just worry that we're not really considering, we say $2,000 a lot, but it's really not that, because you're also borrowing money from a bank, so there's interest carry on that. So it's more than just the straight $2,000 that we gave the example. So not here to try to table this thing. Again, you guys are our customers, the townships are our customers. We want to build good roads for you. Not everybody is us, I understand that, but it's tight for the development community, and we've thrown some suggestions to them. We were supposed to sit down and work through those. Most of our suggestions were just no back, so I don't think much has changed from that. So I'm for under drains. I think they work. The gravel spec is great. Just arbitrarily adding thickness to your asphalt in addition to that, I think our geotech engineer said that doesn't really get you the bang for your buck. So it's just added cost. It's not really, let's face it, roads fail because water gets underneath roads. So having that gravel spec and the under drain spec will greatly reduce that opportunity. But in addition, throwing another layer of asphalt on it, I don't know that that's the best. And then the bonding thing, I think, is going to be a real issue. So, happy to answer other questions or.
Thank you for being here today.
Yeah.
Dave, do you have any?
I don't.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What was our final thought on the bonding question, that you wanted to keep it input, just the rationale, because I think that's a reasonable argument that if you're increasing the standards, you're making us do more upfront. Is the bonding period requirement the same? That's a reasonable question.
It is. And the bonding period can increase. It depends on how quickly the development builds out. So the requirement that David had mentioned is that we are looking for 2/3 of the lots to be developed, and then that starts the 2-year window. So once 2/3 of the lots are developed and a section and occupied, then starts a 2-year maintenance window. And that is, the consideration there in part is, of course, you still have development on a roadway, you still have potential for failure. The townships, they don't want to be back maintaining in a construction area. You've seen developments as they're building out. You'll have dumpsters or, construction equipment. And it's just a little early for those townships to get in and start maintaining those roads.
So it's not so much even the money of it's going to fail, it's logistics of this is a construction road still, then it could be for another couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and we don't want to be maintaining it while your equipment is still actively going up and down this.
Yes, sir. Failure is part of it too, but it's both issues together.
All right.
Anyone else wishing to add anything? I know I've seen a lot of the same faces here. Kurt?
Good morning. Kurt Weber, Chief Deputy Engineer, Engineer's Office. Yeah, I mean, everything that Dave Mick from our office said is true. Appreciate the points of Dave Stroop from Fisher. You know, the thing that's frustrating to us, you know, not just the cost that the township and the engineer's office has borne when this happens, but I mean, just the, with all due respect to everybody involved, just the back and forth, the time that it takes when there is pavement damage, that, you know, when we're, I mean, in Shaker Run, that took months to go through that. And when it was all said and done, we came before you as the Board of County Commissioners at the request of the township, Turtle Creek Township. Tammy Boggs is here today, administrator. And, you know, when it was all said and done, we appreciate you guys supporting us. And the plan at that time is the way it worked is we paid for half, you know, of the cost, the township and county did, and then Fisher and Dries paid for the other half. So, but I tell you what, it wasn't just like everybody said, oh yeah, let's go ahead and pay half up front. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of time consumed. And I know of other instances down in Hamilton Township where, in Eagles Point, I believe it was, where, you know, there was some back and forth and an impasse once again, which is understandable, and I respect, you know, Fisher saying, hey, this is an accepted street. And then the public position is, yes, we get that as accepted street, but your construction traffic is pounding our roads, you know, for you to develop more lots. And in that case, I think they agreed to split a little bit of the cost there, but there was another cost that it was too close to the end of the year before snow and ice season. The township just went ahead and paid, what was it, Dave? About $40,000 just because they needed to make sure that it got, you know, it was suitable to plow, you know, so the plows didn't dig into it. So those are the things that, you know, why it's important. And the Delaware County example, I mean, yeah, we can't, you know, we just haven't picked and chosen. We have, you know, there's been data that's been looked at from the pavement design standards. You know, Ohio's a different standard than Kentucky. That's what we followed. And Dave Stroop's absolutely right. The under drains and the gravel will absolutely help, but it's not like we just, you know, pulled a few inches of asphalt out of the air. I mean, this is something that we really looked at closely. And I know this is, I, you know, don't want to speak for the townships, but I know they're frustrated by this as well. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And back when we were out there at Shaker Run, that's a few years ago, when we, you know, deliberated out there, you know, representative for Fisher at the time said, yeah, just, we were talking about, hey, we're going to be improving our standards. And the response was, go ahead, we'll just pass it on to the lot, you know, buyers. So anyway, that's it. Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Again, Dave Stroop, Fisher Homes. I was intimately involved in those conversations, and it's not that we're trying to be, you know, pushed back, but you're talking about a road, Shaker Run, that is in a low-lying area where a lot of water concentrates, and it was there for 15-plus years, done by Bob Ryan, who was a previous developer. So Fisher really didn't build those roads. We haven't owned them for 15 years. The other half of Shaker Run we did do, and those roads have stood up fine to the same level, I would say, of traffic. There was no real maintenance done on that entryway to Shaker Run for a long time. And the reason there was, you know, pushback and we weren't willing to just throw money at it, one, it was a road that was built 15 years ago by other people. It was a public road for a long time. We did use it to build additional houses. But we were also held, for lack of a better word, a gun to our head that said we were going to reduce how much 50% of our construction weight limits. You know, every gravel truck had to be half loaded, every concrete truck had to be half loaded, lumber trucks. So when you're building the level houses that are going at Shaker Run, which is a beautiful community, and it's going to be very successful for, I think, all of us, you know, that would really detriment that development. So yeah, we basically had to step up to give the money. The Hamilton Township incident, we didn't build that road at all. That was by a developer that went out of business in the downturn. The road was done, who knows, not very lack of supervision, I would say. The road was failing long before we even put a truck on that road. So again, we didn't build the road, it was built by other people under.
Yeah, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I represent Fisher, but I'm also the president of the HBA. I mean, home builders did build those roads. So you can't say, oh, well, Fisher didn't do it.
Fair.
You're not just representing Fisher.
Fair,
So
well, I'm just giving you
a
background
home
on those
builder
two.
built it and it failed.
Sure, a guy that went out of business that did pretty shady work. so-
Well, so be it. That's why we have standards.
Yeah, well, we also have inspections, and who knows how it was inspected to get the built. So, I mean, the road clearly failed, but look at all the other roads in Hamilton Township. I built all of Winstead, all of Providence. I mean, there's huge developments. Those roads are beautiful, they're fine. So, I think it's just, you know, there were some things said there that I don't think are exactly true, that we were, you know, purposely trying to fight. And I'm not here trying to purposely fight, I just want the record to be straight on it, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, Gus.
Gus Edwards, Wayne Township, 6050 North Clarksville Road. Administrator, speaking on behalf of townships, particularly Clear Creek Township. There's an incident over in Winding Creek, and there's a cul-de-sac that they accepted. I don't know, Winding Creek's not been in existence probably more than 10 years, and it's been turned over to them, and they've had to go back in and do a full-depth reclamation on sections of it. I want to just tag on to Fisher's developments. You know, that's the trouble we're in here, is we have to come up with a standard that's good for everybody. Fisher may put in great roads. The land development company that is represented here may put in great roads. But, you know, we have set a standard that's good for all developers, all contractors and so forth, and make sure that it's followed. Commissioner Young, I think you made a great point, the fact that we're building roads today that we got to hope and guess when we take a swing at this road design standard that we're going to accept or adopt is going to be a major change from what it was, in hopes that we do have better roads than what we've been left with in the past. And, you know, we will not know that until 10 years or better from now. You know, you're not going to see, and that's one reason why we have to keep the bonding in place. You're not going to see any failures in the first couple of years. If it is, then it's definitely something wrong with the base layer or the base sub base. There's something wrong with the road itself. So the bonding has to be in place so that those immediate failures can be fixed. You know, truly realistically, when we're looking at the thickness and so forth of the asphalt, it's going to bridge most of those for the first couple of winters, and we're not going to see at the township level any repairs that are going to be needed immediately. But after 10 years, and you get through multiple years of freeze and thaw cycles, and you have the construction traffic along with your trash Rumpke and so forth hauling on those roads, you know, we see failures after that, but we realize that those are failures that are expected after 10 years plus. But we can't have the major failures in the first 5, 6, 8 years. And I hope this design standard will, and I think it will, because it's putting a cap onto the asphalt, which is going to help, and it's going to put it on sooner, and we're going to have less penetration of water down through the asphalt getting into the base, and the gravel base will indeed drain it. So I think, Commissioner Young, you probably hit to me what's most important. When we're going to change the design standard, let's make a major change and not a minor change. Then 10 years from now, 15 years from now, if we see that we went too far, then somebody else can decide that, you know, maybe we can back off a little bit. But now's the time to change it and change it for the better. Thank you.
Thanks, Gus. Anyone else wishing to add?
Good morning. Tammy Boggs, Turtle Creek Township Administrator, 670 North State Route 123. We concur with what the engineer is proposing for the road standards. We've all experienced the road failures due to the construction traffic, mainly on the roads. I was part of a conversation that we had with Fisher when we talked about changing the standards because of the failures we were seeing. And the statement was made that they have the option of passing it along to the homeowners for the individual lots. Townships don't have that option. We pass it along to all of our residents. And I think that's where we need to be mindful of what we're passing along. Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy. Morning.
John Cowan, Somerset Custom Homes. I'm the president of the Home Builders Association of Greater Cincinnati. I guess what I want to say is I just disagree with the merits of the argument to begin with. I think a lot of the pressure is coming to the engineer's office and to you all from townships because of the amount of money that they've spent on maintenance. Generally, in conversations over years past, when the association and or builders developers have sat down with the county has presented data, information showing all the different things. Recently, we sat down, Michelle from the building department asked for our support, sat down with her. She gave a presentation of all the things that the digital platform that just got brought into the building department was going to offer for builders, developers, all those kind of things. I've been in a lot of these conversations, a lot of these emails over the course of the last 2 months. Haven't really gotten that. I agree with what Dave said. What was coming from the engineers, you know, the compromise that we were thinking we were making just got shot down wholesale. I think it'll be really detrimental to Warren County if you move forward with this as it is. Dave's just one of the large developers who's expressed his opinion on that. I don't know what to say or what to do from the point of view that we haven't seen any of that information from the township. Like if a developer goes out and does road work as far as putting in roads or doing road repair, there's tickets, there's invoices, there's work orders. We have nothing. All we have is the township saying that because of the developers or because of the construction traffic, the roads are failing. There's no proof that it's as a result of the developers, the construction, or the homeowners, or that it's failing at the same rate that all of the rest of the roads through the entire county are. There's just nothing that says that it's specifically developers' fault, or in the long run, the customers that are buying the house's fault. So in my opinion, by doing this, you're taking away from those customers the ability to make decisions for themselves by forcing an amount onto a developer that they have to pay and then pass on to the customer. I've been through a lot of this over the course of the last couple of months, and honestly, I'm pretty much done with it. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you for being here. Anyone else?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second, roll call, please.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
So, Dave, do you want to deliberate here?
My deliberation is, as the last gentleman said, I'm done with it. I don't think I was done with it. That we've taken this matter seriously. We've tried to be open to it. We've encouraged more discussions to see if a negotiated agreement could come somewhere in the middle. And at the end of the day, we haven't changed our standard in a very long time. And the fact is that we're seeing degradation to the road network. And the most important factor in my mind is under state law, we have an elected representative in a county engineer. And sometimes we disagree to the home building community's benefit in a lot of cases on things like sight line and common sense types of things where road entranceways, and we go out with the engineer's office a fair amount, and honestly with a lot of your members, and they have benefited. But on this specific issue, I'm not a civil engineer. I don't know the components of the soil and the base. That is outside the scope of what my knowledge base is. However, under Ohio law, the people have represented an expert in that, and that is the county engineer. And the county engineer is telling us, and it's backed up by, number one, our largest township, and other townships as well, that this is a problem. And when it comes to working with the development community, I don't think you've had a better partner than Warren County in the amount of homes that have been sold in Southwest Ohio and the way that we treat our partners in the development community, from our inspection folks, from our mapping folks, from our zoning folks, from the, not just our sewer plant and the expansion that we did with that 15 or 18 years ago, which actually enabled you to continue to sell homes, all the way to us going to soft water to make it even more attractive for people to move to Warren County. We have done a myriad of things to make it more attractive in the free market to build your home in Warren County. And if, from my personal perspective, oh, this might marginally change your growth rate because the price point might marginally go up, my response honestly is, that's fine. We, especially in the context of what happens with our school districts, with unfettered growth, that I like a quality product. And Warren County has a reputation of doing things right and being best in class. So in some ways, I don't care what our neighboring communities are doing. If our engineer is telling us this is what needs to happen, we want the best. I like having the best of things. So even if that's passed on to the future residents in terms of an extra $1,000 or $2,000 cost per lot, that's not great. But if that saves everybody else in the community money long term because those maintenance costs are going down, which is what we've taken testimony from multiple public officials saying, I think that's a reasonable trade-off. And again, we have been good to the development community, and we like having a good relationship with the development community. And on this particular issue, when we have two honorable points of view, I feel compelled to follow what Ohio law has set up, which is my expert is the county engineer.
Yeah, I would share what you've said, Dave. I mean, it is, it's always frustrating when parties that you respect a great deal are at an impasse. And that's why, you know, we have to make the decision to move forward. And I think, you know, while our hope back in August when we were originally engaged in this process was to be able to find a path forward that was equally painful to all parties, and that's just not able to be found at this juncture. And so, you know, my instinct would be that, much like Dave, we rely on and elect the county engineer to advise us, and that our county residents, on top of the townships, have been footing the bill for road repairs. And so, and they don't have a, you know, presumably don't have a choice in it, unlike a customer who chooses whether or not to purchase a home based on the price. So, you know, the proof will be in the pudding. If we approve the standards as proposed with the compromises that have been made, we'll know within a couple of years and whether or not it's harmed development, and we can make a different decision at that point in time if we should choose to do so. And certainly Warren County has a history of doing that. So I'm confident that if the evidence suggests that it's a problem, that we'll reconsider this issue altogether. But I think the townships and the engineer, in an abundance of evidence over the last several hearings, have proven the need for the overhaul. And I just think it's unfortunate that we are where we are, but I'm certainly prepared to make a decision, Dave, today if you are.
Tina, do you have a resolution?
I have a resolution to approve amendments to the requirements and standards for the design of construction, streets, and roadway facilities in Warren County.
So moved.
And Yes, or second, and then how about a roll call, please?
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Young?
Yes.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your patience and participation. The next item on the agenda is a work session with Chris Broush, the sanitary engineer, relative to the Brisbane Corporation's request to continue reimbursement provisions in Hamilton Township for an additional 3 years.
Yes, good morning. My name is Chris Broush. I'm with the Warren County Water and Sewer Department. You mentioned, Commissioner Young, how the county commissioners have partnered with development to make smart development happen over the course of, decades. And this references what we're going to talk about today is a project that the commissioners partner with Bill Brisbane on to allow for development, smart development to happen out in Hamilton Township. This is the Village on the Green lift station. Back early 90s, probably actually before any of the board members were on the board. The previous board worked with Bill Brisbane for the construction of the Village on the Green lift station. And when that subdivision went in, the county requested, the commissioners requested, the board requested that Bill Mr. Brisbane oversized that lift station to allow for additional development that was planned in the future. And Mr. Brisbane did do that. He spent roughly, back in the early 90s, he spent roughly around $317,000 to build this oversized lift station in Forest, Maine. And a portion of that was going to be used to serve his development. So his development was going to take about 20% of that load, and then the future development area is going to take 80% of that load. So when the construction was done on that lift station, the county entered into a reimbursement reimbursement resolution with Mr. Brisbane that lasted 10 years. In that time period, we saw a recession happen, and Mr. Brisbane got very little of his money back. And so the subsequent boards have adopted additional reimbursement extensions. And to date, Mr. Brisbane has been reimbursed $244,000, roughly around that amount. When we do our calculations, we look at it and we calculate that for him to be made whole, he would have to be paid $258,000. So we're roughly $13,000 that Mr. Brisbane has not been reimbursed yet on. We've had discussions with Steve Hunt about this. Steve initially was asking for this reimbursement period to be extended, I think a 4th time, so that he would be made whole. Our recommendation to the board would be that the Water and Sewer Department would cut Mr. Brisbane a check in the amount of $13,200 and some odd, bringing him up to the full reimbursement amount that we have calculated. We've talked, and then the reimbursement period would not be extended. We simply make a cut a check, and have this reimbursement complete and off the books. Steve is here today. He'd be happy to talk about it. Steve, you happy to talk about it? And give the developers' thoughts on this. We've talked a little bit with the prosecutors on this. At this point, be happy to answer any questions you might have before you have Mr. Hunt up here to talk.
When was the last extension made?
It was in 2015. This board entered into a it wasn't a consent agreement. What was it?
The extension was by resolution 152184.
And that was, in that resolution, as I recall, was it's specified in the resolution that it was the last time the extension would be granted.
That's correct.
It was a settlement agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good.
Mr. Hunt?
Good morning.
Good morning.
You can't come to Warren County and not talk, right? You love us.
Gotta have
coming
fun.
down here, right?
Steve Hunt, 2200 US Bank Tower, Cincinnati, Ohio. And as indicated, I am the attorney for the Brisbane companies. And I worked on this reimbursement from the beginning. And we're only seeking to be reimbursed for what the county required, oversizing. We're not trying to cover the cost for his development, which has been completed and very successful. And so I agree with the proposal. I've got to give Chris a lot of credit. He went back and reviewed all the documents from the very beginning before he was involved. And he and I talked back and forth. And basically the proposal to make the $13,000 payment just reimburses my client for the cost of oversizing, and seems to me totally appropriate. And then we don't have to extend the agreement, which we weren't supposed to extend anymore anyway from the prior version. But nobody would have thought COVID would hit and it would slow the projects down. And so now the county will be in good shape. You've got the pump station and more people can develop, and it's there.
And
So
Bruce,
happy to answer any questions.
I'm curious about the prosecutor's viewpoint on this.
I think it's an appropriate resolution, and it prevents the Water and Sewer Department from having to continue to administratively account for all this. The only thing we will need to do and bring back to you is a settlement agreement and release, and that ought to be easy to do since we did that in 2015 on other issues. And now it'll be limited to just this issue, and we can bring that back to you promptly.
Good with me.
Sounds like a good plan. We don't need to take a vote, do we? You'll come back to us with the settlement agreement and vote at that time.
That's correct.
Okay, so I think the direction of the board is, we appreciate the solution that you brought forward. Splitting the baby is always welcome.
Thank you.
What's your opinion on what we just talked about?
I think it's totally appropriate. I mean, you think about it, the developer's doing a project and the county requires oversizing for other development. He should get reimbursed. And you think about it.
I was talking about the roadway.
Oh, the roadway.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I'm
think
also counsel for the Home Builders Association. And, I've been to a lot of the meetings, and I think it's gone a little overboard on some of the requirements. And it's just a difficult, I can see both sides. The concern of the board of the Home Builders Association was there really wasn't a lot of documentation provided by the township as to increase costs, and that was troubling. And it just puts Warren County a little more expensive to develop compared to other counties, and so that's why we're like to work it out.
Yeah.
Well, I always respect your opinion. You always come prepared, so.
We don't like to have to make the decisions. I mean, we like it when things come back to us where parties can work it out, and sometimes they can't. But I think that, if we're wrong, we can make a change. And we've done it before, so it's not without some precedent in doing that, so.
Yeah, it's just a tough market right now. Costs are going up, going crazy. Interest rates high. I just can't figure where all the people are coming from that can afford these houses. And, we've got to have some for people that don't have that kind of income. So.
Yes, that is a real issue.
Everybody with any sense from Hamilton County, that's where they come from. Coming here.
Few. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Okay, thank you, Chris, for that. And we look forward to the settlement agreement coming back. Next, we have a work session on the 2024 budget. Are we doing it in here or heading back into the conference room? Great. We will continue the conversation in the conference room.